This recording is part of the weekly business school and greenhouse program provided by TNT Promotions. Any unauthorized broadcast or duplication is strictly prohibited. Please check first with your particular upline leadership before implementing any principles heard on the CD.
Hello, this is Blake Graham, and I'm here today with Richard Renton, and we're here to talk about the amazing Youngevity products. Richard, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing absolutely great. Thanks for having me here, Blake.
Now, Richard, I want people to understand your incredible background. You've got a lot of background in both biochemistry as well as nutrition and sports medicine. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, before I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Wallach, I attended University of Oregon with my undergraduate degree in physical education and organic chemistry. And then once I completed that studies, I moved up to Portland, Oregon and got a master's in sports medicine. So I've had the great opportunity of understanding and learning about nutrition as well as the human body and how it works, as well as organic chemistry.
And you've also been a product formulator. You've worked with Dr. Wallach now for more than 2 decades.
More than 2 decades, and we've just had a great opportunity with the chemistry background. I was able to understand when he was trying to put compounds together in a nutritional form to benefit people. And so we've been working together designing products now for over 2 decades, and it's been very exciting.
Now, Richard, in our discussions, you explained that their focus is different from what you're going to see from every other company on the market.
Well, you're right, because typically when you go into a health food store and you look at something, you look at 10 bottles in a row of vitamin C and 10 bottles in a row of vitamin B1 or so on and so forth with minerals and things like that. And we look at it in a different direction on the scientific board. What we want to do is look at a particular health challenge and then create a product to overcome or support the body with that health challenge. And so when we put a formula together, it's actually to look at a particular challenge so that we can support the body in overcoming it.
You mentioned the Scientific Advisory Board. Can you spend just a few minutes and tell us about some of the people on the board whose expertise goes into this product line?
We can start out with the head of the scientific board, and that's Dr. Wallach himself. And the thing that makes me feel so proud to work with him is that he's been trained in so many different directions, and it's those directions that makes our company unique. He's a veterinarian, which means results-driven opportunities. He's a pathologist. He understands how to see quality and quantity. And he's an ND, so he's worked with the human body. So when you start with that foundation, along with Dr. Malan, who has several MD degrees from ancient Chinese medicine to modern medicine, along with people like Dr. Gerhard Schrauzer, who works for University of California down in San Diego, Dean Emeritus, and has been educating people on trace minerals and chemistry for, I want to say, over 40 years at a university level, and Dr. Edmund DeWa, Dr. Corey Gold. So really, when you look at our scientific board and you look at the numbers of years involved with designing nutrition, I will match that up with just about any board, because off the top of my head, I'm going to say it's going to be over 200.
And I know Dr. Milan actually taught surgery at Harvard University Medical School.
And neurology to boot, and how to work with nerves. And she has just an incredible mind and such an art of blending the traditions of Chinese medicine with our modern medicine. She's been invited all over to the United States to teach her medical techniques.
And then Dr. Schrauzer, who's actually not only been the head of the chemistry department at the University of California, San Diego, but is actually the official nominator for people for the Nobel Prize in Medicine.
And that's exciting. Being nominated for just a Nobel Prize or winning a Nobel Prize is obviously something extremely special. But you think about the people that are allowed to suggest names for that high award and what credibilities they have to have really sets us apart. And in my heart, I feel that's one of the reasons why the FDA was forced to look at our science on our health claims, because of the strength of the members of the scientific board.
Now, I think that's one of the proofs of this company being unique. You talk about Dr. Wallach focusing on results, but he's not focusing just on results with the products. He actually wants to change health regulations so that they look at results as well.
Oh, absolutely. Current medical practices within the United States likes to treat a problem once it becomes a problem. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Wallach being a veterinarian, if you talk to veterinarians, they want to prevent the problem from ever occurring in the first place. We're part of the animal kingdom, but it still works true with us that we can prevent the problem from occurring in the first place if we take care of ourselves.
All right. Well, Richard, when we focus on results, one of the things that obviously contributes to the results is the quality of the products. And I know we've had the opportunity of doing a CD together called Quality, Quality, Quality. For those people who haven't heard the CD, and if they haven't, I'm going to encourage you to listen to that CD. When you look at the quality of our ingredients, does Youngevity go through any additional testing when the ingredients are delivered to make sure they're up to our standards?
Absolutely. You know, with the new regulations within the government, everybody's standards have raised, but they were not to our levels now, and they're still not to our levels back then. When we get a raw material, the manufacturer has to supply what's called a C of A. And in that C of A, we can see the purity levels and the quantities and all those types of situations. We take those results and we test the products again to see if they're matched up. And that's required by all our manufacturers. And then once the product is finished, we test it again to see if it's maintain its integrity during manufacturing. I see a lot of companies that don't do that, and because of the way they mix and blend things, they lose the integrity of their product. Dr. Wallach has always insisted that we take those extra steps in testing. Costs a little bit more money, but the results shows that it's worth our while.
So are there ever any times that a manufacturer might send an ingredient that doesn't match the certificate of analysis?
Oh, business is business, and so if they think they can get away with it, they might. Hopefully we don't. We've worked with our vendors for 15 years and have a good relationship, but they know we do this testing, so we almost never have to reject. And that's what happens when they don't pass the test. We reject the raw material and send it back to them saying, we don't want it, sell it to somebody else.
Right. Well, when we look at quality control, is there any extra things that Youngevity does to make sure that the quality is in there?
Absolutely. After we make the product and we bring it into our warehouse, it's not unusual for us to take a sample of that product. Once it's finished, everything's passed, and just put it to the side for a period of time, 6 months, and then send it to a lab and see if over a 6-month period it's maintained its integrity. And that's some of the things that we do. We also do it upon receiving the products and 1 year and 2 years down the road. So there's this constant testing situation that we set up so that we know when an individual, a customer, receives our products, they're getting what we plan for them to get. And that's such an important thing. And I don't think there's many other companies that go to the standards that we do.
Now, you also say that Youngevity products are unique because when you look at formulations, you don't look at what people are the most interested in buying. You're looking at the formulas that produce the best results.
Oh, absolutely. And when we work on a project such as Beyond Tangy Tangerine, where we're looking for an antioxidant multivitamin, we as the scientific board starts laying out what we feel is the 90 essential nutrients that we have to have in it plus additional items, and we actually lay it out on a board and then start to put these formulas together. So it isn't like what's trendy on the market right now, whether it's noni or another super fruit juice or something like that. It's not what's trendy, it's results driven. And I need to emphasize that because a lot of people always say to me, why will your product work better than someone else's? And I think it's because of A, quality, B, the design, because we design towards our results, and C, the history of Youngevity and the passion that Dr. Wallach has to succeed.
Dr. Wallach, being a veterinarian, he comes from a different background where they're looking at results with nutrition in combination instead of individual nutrients.
You know, we always talk about dietary supplements, and we're not telling anyone out there that you don't have to eat smart and take our supplements. We want you to do a complete package. You know, when you look at someone that takes care of livestock and whatnot, they take special care with their grains and the fields that they grow, the grass, and take care of their cattle. But if you also talk to them, they support the diet with supplements to maintain health. But we don't do that with ourselves. And it always boggles my mind. You know, we have struggles right now with the cost of health care within our country, but yet we don't try to prevent the disease. We just try to fix it once it breaks. And that's never made sense to me. And that's probably the experience I have with Dr. Wallach and his veterinarian background. It just makes him shake his head. Why should we spend millions of dollars to fix problems when we can spend hundreds of dollars to prevent it?
And the sad thing is most of the things that people are doing to try to fix problems don't even address the cause. All they do is mask the symptoms. They address symptomology with pharmaceuticals to relieve the symptoms without dealing anything with the underlying cause.
And so many times the symptoms or the drug causes another problem, and therefore you have to take another medication to overcome that. You know, I heard a story on the news just a couple of days ago. There is 4 prescriptions written for every man, woman, child in the United States every month, every year. That's what the average is. Now, I know I don't take any prescription drugs, and Blake, I know that you don't take any prescription drugs, but I know there's lots of people out there that probably take 10, 15, 20 prescription drugs every single month, and who knows what counteractions they have with the combinations of those particular drugs.
All right, well, let's talk about these 90 essential nutrients. We have a package that you worked close to a decade putting together on this formula called the Healthy Start Pack. Tell us a little bit about this package.
Well, hopefully everyone listening to us has heard the CD, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, where Dr. Wallach talks about his 90 essential nutrients, the 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 60 minerals, and 2 members of the essential fatty acids. And we know that that's the base foundation of good nutrition. And the challenge is, can we get it in our diet? Well, vitamins maybe, amino acids maybe, but minerals you just can't. And so getting the 90 essential nutrients in the Healthy Start Pack is probably the base foundation. And so it consists of 3 products. The first one is the Beyond Tangy Tangerine Powder, which is really the multivitamin mineral product that of the 90 essential nutrients, it basically covers 87 fairly effectively. 2 of them that it doesn't is the essential fatty acids. And the main reason is that we take the powder and we put it in the bottle and it mixes very clearly. It's great that we don't have to put preservatives and artificial flavors in it or anything like that. 2 of the essential fatty acids are basically derived from fish oil. Most people don't like to drink fish oil. We've learned over the years that the product has to be palatable. So to convince people to take their EFAs, essential fatty acids, effectively, we pack them in a soft gel so they don't have to taste it. But also, if you heard the Quality CD, we also talk about how we're able to maintain the integrity by not allowing the essential fatty acids to oxidize, and that's another reason why we put it in the soft gel. The third item is OsteoFX Plus, and everyone knows how important calcium is. We know that women, as they go through menopause, seem to always have weaker bones when they go through their childbearing years. Men too, it's not unusual. And so getting good absorbing calcium along with other bone supporting items is key for a healthy second half of your life, if you want to say, and for the first half of your life as you're growing up in children. And so we put these 3 items together in what we call the Healthy Start Pack, which contains the EFA Plus, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine OsteoFX Plus, in a convenient, easy way to order, and it tastes good. And people are taking it and they're seeing unbelievable results.
Yeah, I know those essential fatty acids being packaged in an oxygen-free environment really helps with the quality, because some people will take essential fatty acids that look the same on the label and just don't give the same results.
Absolutely, or they smell fishy, or they get them in little 1-pint jars, the open oils. And if you think about it, even if the manufacturer takes care of it, it's kind of like any other oil. It becomes rancid over a given period of time, and that happens in those jars too. So the second you break that seal and open it up and allow the oxygen to start to attack it, it begins to oxidize or rust, if you want to look at it that way. When it's packed in those individual EFA soft gels, it's never exposed to oxygen, it maintains their integrity, and it's just as pure now as it is 3 years from now, and that's the sign of a good EFA.
Oxidized essential fatty acids are just as bad for you as trans fatty acids, isn't that right?
It is trans fatty acids, yes. Oxidized oils in any way we want to avoid in our diet.
Okay, now the OsteoFX Plus, I know, is a calcium product. It's very unique in that Dr. Wallach, in designing that, looked at what form of calcium in our bones and tried to put a product together that has the exact same forms of calcium, so it's easy to absorb. Talk to us a little bit about this absorption.
You know, when we look at our bones, there's lots of minerals that are involved with bone structure or bone matrix. The ones that we seem to be short so much are in calcium and phosphorus. And so the form that we've developed for OsteoFX is tricalcium phosphate. A lot of chemistry, a lot of details. A lot of people don't need to know this kind of stuff, but it's basically 3 calcium molecules to every phosphate molecule. And what we have found when you put it together with with vitamin D3 and other ingredients like glucosamine sulfate and MSM and boron and strontium. The whole blend, the combination, tends to support bone structure like any other calcium product I've ever worked with. You know, you always hear commercials out there about calcium citrate or calcium carbonate and all those types of challenges. The big problem is that there's so few molecules of calcium in the whole structure. And so you hear that it's 1,200 milligrams. Well, 1,200 milligrams of the compound or the element, because that just makes a huge difference.
And in the OsteoFX Plus, it's 1,200 milligrams of calcium. So the compound's actually bigger.
Correct.
But it's very dense and very absorbable.
Very, very absorbable. You know, a lot of people have restless leg syndromes. You know, I nickname it with my grandson the EBGBs at night when you rest. And we found that if people have that type of a challenge, they could take OsteoFX 20, 30 minutes before they go to bed. And when they lie down in their bed, when you have these little restless leg attacks, when you have more calcium in your body, they go away. Well, if the calcium didn't absorb quickly in that 20 minutes, it wouldn't work. So it just shows people how fast our products actually get into your system to be beneficial. And it isn't just the calcium product that does that. We have a whole line of products because it's one of the main focuses we have, getting it into your system to be effective.
The other product that's in the Healthy Start Pack is the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the BTT as we call it. And you call it a powder, but I think it's more than just a powder. Talk to us about the process that you go to make sure this one is absorbable.
Sure. So when Dr. Wallach first started to get involved with nutrition for his patients when he had his clinic, he believed about liquid nutrients absorbing better. And they absolutely do. There isn't any argument behind that. But the disadvantage of liquid nutrients is that when they have proteins in them, they can grow bacteria, yeast, and mold. And so we had to put in their preservatives. And we listened to our customers and say, hey, we love your product and whatnot, but is there any way to do it where you don't have to put the preservatives in it because we don't want to put it in our body? So in listening to our customers, we started to work around with this. And you mentioned that it took me 10 years to put this formula together, and it almost did. And one of the reasons is that we had to figure out how to make a liquid product into a NutriCrystal or a powder type situation and make it just as absorbable as our liquids. And we did that, and it was an interesting way. It was a stumble by accident. A lot of the great discoveries are always by accident. And I was at a food convention, and they were talking about taking all the moisture out of fruits and vegetables by spin drying them and not allowing them ever to get hot. And I kind of went, oh, that's kind of interesting. And so then we went back to the drawing board, and we actually made Beyond Tangy Tangerine in a thick liquid state. And then we put it in those type dryers where they spin them, not ever allowing them to get above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and force all the moisture out. And so when we got the moisture level to below 2%, we had this crystal because all the ingredients were still mixed together. And when you put it underneath a microscope, it isn't individual granulars, it is actually a crystal. And because the moisture level is so low, we didn't have to put the bacteria, yeast, and mold prevention in the package. Along with, we were able to start using natural sweeteners like stevia, and we no longer had to put any artificial sweeteners in it. So the product became much more natural with natural colorings from beet juice and tangerine, natural sweeteners like tangerine and orange and stevia, and no preservatives. So we just thought it was a win-win situation. Plus, it tastes good.
Yeah, it definitely does. It is amazing how much better it tastes when you can take a liquid and crystallize it very quickly. So you don't have to worry about all of the chemical reactions that are wanting to go on, but you can kind of halt those until the people mix it in water and put it in their bodies.
You know, one of the most common questions I get is, Richard, what do you actually drink and what do you actually take? And I can honestly say right here in our conversation that we're having here that I have a full serving of Beyond Tangy Tangerine in water that I'm drinking as we're doing this. And so I'm very proud to say I take the Healthy Start Pack every day. And I'm in my mid-50s to late 50s, and I'm active and losing weight and feeling better about myself. I get to play with my grandson and teach him things that I've always wanted to teach grandchildren. And it's because of the nutrition I'm taking and the advice that Dr. Wallach's given me over the years that I feel I'll be able to do this for another, 40, 50 years maybe?
Let's talk a little bit about the 4 categories, because we see of the 900 different diseases that Dr. Wallach says can occur because people are deficient in one of the 90 essential nutrients. About 80% of them, or maybe even a little more, fall into 4 basic categories that we talk about. And Dr. Glidden has a CD on this called Healing is Easy, where he talks about first is blood sugar imbalances, and second are calcium deficiency and bone and joint problems. Third one, EFA and cholesterol deficiencies, and the fourth one, digestive problems. Let's take each of those. And first, blood sugar imbalances. What are some of the blood sugar imbalances that you see commonly?
Well, besides obviously type 2 diabetes, which is just a growing epidemic, I remember when I first got involved in nutrition, it was called adult onset diabetes. But now we're starting to realize the fastest growing group is actually teenagers, and we have to start looking why. And so much of it is just because of our diet and what we're eating. So type 2 diabetes is really simple, but then we look at ADD and ADHD challenges, bipolar, some cardiovascular diseases, depression, elevated cholesterol and triglycerides, fainting spells, fatigue, hyperactivity, all sorts of challenges can all be tied to uncontrolled blood sugar levels. And so there again, looking at it in this direction, we then start to put kits together or combination of nutrients together to overcome the blood sugar problems and assist your body to maintain a level and proper blood sugar level.
Now, I know some of the symptoms that we see commonly with people with blood sugar problems are either they get sleepy after meals, or some of them wake up in the middle of the night, either to use the restroom or sometimes not to use the restroom. They just wake up in the middle of the night because it's taken that long for the blood sugar to actually get into their brain from the meal that they had in the evening.
Right. And there's always certain combinations of this type of product, but it's pretty easy to spot. Also, we find that a lot of people that have uncontrolled blood sugar levels, and we're not talking about at the level of diabetes, we're just talking about mild fluctuations that go crazy, have a challenge with weight. And we find that once you're able to control your blood sugar levels, then weight control becomes much more manageable. And a lot of people, when they just take even our basic Healthy Start Pack, have a tendency to start to lose weight, and they really don't know why. And that's always a fun one. I know it's a little bit of a side note, but if you think about it, when horses and livestock don't get enough minerals, what do? Well, it's called piking and cribbing. You probably heard Dr. Wallach talk about it. We've experienced it because my wife's raised horses where they eat the fence. And so anyone that has a ranch that has animals like this know when they do that, you put out a salt block and you make sure that salt block has extra minerals in it and they stop eating your fence. And we also see dogs with this challenge because you see them eating soil or other things that they find on the ground. Humans have this problem too, and it's called snacking. And so if you find yourself snacking or wanting to have food in between the meals, it isn't because you're really hungry for the calories. You're hungry for the nutrients. You're looking for those minerals. And so when we supply the minerals to your body, those have a tendency to go away, and those blank calories that you're taking, you eliminate. Therefore, you start to lose weight. And it's just so much fun to see this. The other thing that occurs is that a lot of those snack foods are very heavy in carbohydrates. And when it's very heavy in carbohydrates, it makes your blood sugar go a little crazy. It's kind of a win-win situation. If we can control your blood sugars, reduce the overall amount of calories you do because you just don't feel like eating them because you're not missing the minerals anymore, your body just becomes healthier.
So when people have a blood sugar imbalance, it's easier for them to gain weight and harder for them to lose weight. Is that accurate?
Oh, that's very accurate.
When we address this, we can't actually say that we have a product for a specific disease, with the exception of the health claim that Dr. Wallach has gotten with the FDA. But we can talk about what we call structure function claims. And I know Youngevity has a package that's designed to help support and promote healthy blood sugar.
Right, and that's a good way of describing a structure function claim. I would love to be able to say to people that we can use a word like cure or 100% better, but we really can't. And I understand that because there's so many people out there that don't have the quality of our products, and if we can say it, then they can say it, and it kind of misrepresents. So we always want to say support healthy blood function, and we have this kit that we call, believe it or not, the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack. Basically, it's that Healthy Start Pack that we just talked about just a few moments ago with the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, the EFAs, and the Osteo FX. But then we add that little extra sauce that we put in there, quote unquote, to help with the blood sugar. And it's a product called Sweeties. There was a study out of University of British Columbia that showed if you take chromium vanadium, that helps your body utilize the insulin more effectively. And so we did that by adding some extra herbs along with it that does the same thing like cinnamon. So we encourage everyone to take 1 to 3 before every meal to help control healthy blood sugar. And it seems to be very, very, very successful for us. I just love the simplicity of the healthy blood sugar pack.
Yeah, that's one that I know I use on a very consistent basis, and it's made a real difference for me. As you started to indicate, one of the things we want to do on this CD is talk about a little bit of advanced. If the basic is the healthy blood sugar pack, why is it that the company, instead of just having a product called Sweeties, would have a little different formulation in a product called Sugaries?
Well, one of the things that's absolutely great about this company is that we do have a lot of products that basically do the same functions with just a little bit of twists and turns. Everybody isn't alike. There isn't a set stamp that we know this will work. Sometimes people work better with herbs in their system. Sometimes people work better with amino acids in their system. So we take the basic active ingredients that we know will work with everybody, like chromium vanadium with type 2 diabetes or blood sugar challenges, and we blend it with different things. So a lot of the people that take the products will take Sugar Ease for a few months, and then they'll switch just so their body doesn't get too used to Sugar Ease with Sweeties, and then vice versa, and so they'll move around. But in the packs, we usually put in the product that we see will be most successful for the greater population. Will it work for absolutely everybody? No, we can't make that promise. I'm confident that in the majority of the people out there, we will have a package that we can put together for everyone to overcome the challenges.
Yeah, and that's something that I've seen with Youngevity. The basic packages tend to get the results we're looking for in over 90% of the people, but sometimes we have to do a little bit of tweaking just because maybe that person's diet is different, their absorption is different, something is going on with their body, and that's one of the substitutions you can make, switching out the Sugaries for the Sweeties. And it's okay to give your body a little bit of variety from time to time, right?
Oh, I think so. I think that whenever you get in a routine, people say you slow down or you become more mundane. And so mixing things up a little bit every once in a while is good for you.
Another substitution we'll often see is some people will switch out the BTT for the classic. For some people, there's just a little bit of rice starch in there that they're sensitive to.
Ultimate Classic was one of the first liquids that we ever came out with. Very, very proud of it. It has lots of calcium and other great nutrients. And just like with the BTT, it has 88 out of the 90 essential nutrients in it. And so people will take that Classic and they'll mix it with a citric acid juice like orange juice or grapefruit juice, maybe put a little bit of Osteo FX Plus in it, and it's a great replacement. And we have actually 2 or 3 liquids that are all in that category that people can look at and find one that fits their needs the best. And that's what's great about the continuing education with these CDs, is it just points out those things for you so you have that aha moment.
So if they're sensitive to maybe the fruits or vegetables or the rice starch, maltodextrin, I believe it's called, that's in the BTT, they can switch that up for the Ultimate Classic. And you named there's a few others that are, again, slightly different formulas, but very similar composition, and those would be
Ultimate Tangy Tangerine Liquid, and then Super Life Total Body Toddy.
And the Ultra Body Toddy as well.
Ultra Body Toddy, but then we were talking about the fruits and vegetables, and that one actually has the fruit and vegetables. So if you're just sensitive to the rice starch, then Ultra Body Toddy might be your perfect choice because it's a little bit stronger antioxidant.
One other advanced strategy we see for blood sugar is something that people can do between meals, and that is using an energy drink to help raise their energy levels. And if it's a good energy drink, it actually isn't filled with a lot of sugar and caffeine. It actually works with the body's Krebs cycle to help produce natural energy and keep your blood sugar level stable. Do we have some products that fall into that category?
We actually have 3 that I absolutely love. And you're absolutely right. The whole idea of blood sugar is to keep an even temperature. We don't want high highs. We don't want low lows. We just want to stay in that middle. And so having an energy drink between meals is absolutely beneficial. Now, I will encourage you not to take an energy drink after dinner. because you might have trouble falling asleep. So kind of keep that in mind. It's just like those people that take some of our colon cleansing products, taking it just before they go on the road. We want to encourage a timely manner to do that. But some of my personal favorites is the Rebound or Pollen Burst.
I like the body trim. I actually mix the body trim and the BTT together, and those work really well for me because it keeps energy levels up, and with all the nutrients in the BTT, I feel satisfied. And we see this a lot with people. When they get the nutrition, they feel more satisfied and end up eating less, and they actually save money in their food budget that can actually help more than pay for the supplements in many cases.
And if you look on the side thing, they're more active. If they're more active, they're burning more calories. And so it's just this very simplistic form of nutrition, and that's why we talk about these 4 groups. By just taking one program, you can get multiple results that will make your quality of life better.
Well, let's move on to the second category, the calcium deficiencies. We have a special package called the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack that helps to support and promote healthy bones and joints. But when you look at calcium deficiencies, we see a lot of things like arthritis and Bell's palsy and ringing of the ears and, all the things that seem to be common to people. But there's also other things like high blood pressure. Right?
Kidney stones, gallbladder stones, things like that. We could talk about restless leg syndrome, which we did just a little bit. How about with the children when they have slow growth and unusual growth and tooth decay? If we want to look at that, our teeth is a joint, or bad gums. All those have the tendency to be bad. You mentioned PMS. Well, that can be a calcium deficiency. Prolonged clotting time in your blood, along with a whole bunch of other things, ringing of the ear, tendinitis, problems with smell and taste, that can be calcium deficiency. And then we talk about the structure of the bone and the bone structure and matrix and all the calcium involved with that, the muscles, the blood, all our organs, they all require calcium. Calcium is one of the most important nutrients, but it isn't just calcium, it's how our body uses the calcium and what form of calciums we take and how do we absorb those calcium that makes it all so important. I hear so many doctors when they talk to a patient talk about, oh, you have a gallbladder stone, you need to take less calcium. Well, if you talk to Dr. Wallach, he says, no, it's not less calcium. You need to use the calcium you have correctly, and you need more.
He talks about that there's a mechanism in the body that'll take calcium from the blood and put it in the bones. Another one takes it from the bones and puts it back in the blood if you need it. The bones are kind of the storage place. And if you're running deficient, the mechanism that puts it back from the blood into the bones kind of goes on vacation. You get a hyper levels of calcium. And when they get that calcification in the blood, Dr. Wallach says actually taking more calcium kind of wakes that mechanism up that puts it back in the bones. And you see things like kidney stones and gallbladder stones can actually go away as your body starts to put the calcium back in the bones.
And Blake, I know you're a new father. How many times have you seen women that have had children become more frail after they have the children? Well, of course, they have the activity of the child to deal with and the stress of the pregnancy itself and then raising the child. But so many times they don't seem to take that extra step to take care of themselves, which is really the person to take care of. And so taking things like the Healthy Bone and Joint Cast, especially for young mothers, I just see their body over the years after they have their children just improve immensely.
Yeah, I've had some people that have said they've lost one tooth with every child they've had. And that's just a sign they're not getting enough to help the baby build bones while supporting their own internal bone structure.
And I think every person that listens to the CD, once they take a look at their friends and people that they know, can turn around and say, oh, that's what's going on there, because it's pretty apparent when you start to actually look at it. And it's really important that we make sure that all our friends and loved ones and people that we know and care about get those 90 essential nutrients.
So if you have an eyelid twitch, if you have stiff shoulders, if you have leg cramps, if you have bone and joint problems, that would be a good person to look at supporting and promoting healthy bone and joints.
And by sharing a CD like this, maybe they'll give the product a try. And remember, since we're results driven, we're pretty comfortable that if they try our packages, they will see a change in their life.
Now, the basic Healthy Bone and Joint Pack has the Healthy Start plus a couple of secret sauces called Glucogel and CM Cream. When somebody's looking for advanced care, maybe an advanced strategy, sometimes they have to do some substitution. I know there is some shellfish derivatives in the glucosamine in the glucogel. And so if they're sensitive to shellfish, or for dietary reasons they're trying to avoid shellfish, when that's the case, are there other products they can substitute in place of the glucogel?
Glucosamine sulfate was originally derived from shrimp shells or crab shells. And so, yes, there's people with allergies and religious reasons that don't want to take that. Through modern science, we've also now been able to find that in some plants. And so the glucosamine sulfate we can get in a plant source. So we come out with both. There's a product called Bone Building that also has calcium in it, but it also has this vegetables form of glucosamine sulfate that's safe. The glucosamine sulfate that's in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, or BTT as I often call it, is that same plant source. So we look at multiple ways to solve a problem so that we can fit the needs of almost everybody. I love the bone building formula. I love glucogel. I'm going to mention one other one that you haven't yet, and that is for those people that really want to aggressively attack challenges with joints. We have a product called liquid glucogel. As you mentioned earlier, we talked about how much more effective liquid nutrients are over capsules, and it's in a liquid state, and it also has CMO in it, acetylmalostoliate, which is a natural anti-inflammatory with glucosamine from the shrimp form and other nutrients to help bone and joints. And it's an unbelievable product for those that are serious about the joint challenges.
One of the things I like about the liquid glucogel, because it's a liquid, it gets quick results. I remember traveling for a week in Japan and then getting on an airplane and being in kind of cramped quarters to get back to the U.S. And it was so uncomfortable. My back was killing me when I got back. And I remember just getting that liquid glucogel and drinking. I probably drank 3 ounces of it. That liquid glucogel, one of its kind of claims to fame is it really works with inflammation. And within 20 minutes, I felt so much better.
You know, so many problems with joint problems have a lot to do with inflammation. And we were talking about the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack and what we put together. And just to fall back on that, it was the 90 essential nutrients from the Healthy Start Pack, which is the OsteoFX, BTT, and EFA, quickly. But then we added glucogel and a cream called CM Cream. And what CM basically does is it's from the essential fatty acid family. We put it in a topical cream. It's not an oral cream, but they put it topically on their joints, and within minutes, they see a reduction of inflammation, which basically means a reduction of pain, and it feels so good. Well, that same active ingredient, the CM, is also in the liquid glucogel. Drops inflammation within your body. We also have it in a capsule form that you can take orally to reduce inflammation throughout your body. Obviously, there are topicals for a particular spot, but when you can start reducing inflammation throughout your body, all sorts of things start to go away. And of all the capsules, one of my most popular ones that I personally like and take is the CM Plus capsule. So there again, we address the problem with the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack with the glucogel and the CM Cream with the 90 essential nutrients. But we have those extra little sauces or petals to a flower, if you consider the 90 essential nutrients the center of the flower, that we can support healthy bone and joint.
Now, I know a couple other advanced add-ons to this if people want even quicker results. Or for some of them, for me, it's like a matter of personal taste. And when I'm talking about taste, I'm talking about the triple truffle. We have a chocolate vitamin D, because we hear a lot about vitamin D deficiencies contributing to calcium deficiencies, right? Tell us a little bit about this incredible chocolate triple truffle.
15, 20 years ago when we first started to work with Youngevity, we were puritists and didn't think flavors made a big difference. And the people that followed our crusade back then were pretty puritists as well. And so things not tasting good really didn't make much of a difference because they wanted the results and they were getting the results. And so now we're trying to get to everybody. And so we start to look at delivery systems like the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. One of the things we found out is that chocolate is pretty much accepted by everybody. There's only about 3% of people out there that don't like chocolate. And chocolate without the sugar and without the dairy is actually a good antioxidant. So we were just thinking, what if we can put dietary supplements in chocolate to help you. And that's exactly what we did with the Triple Treat Truffle. We put calcium and vitamin D in the chocolate. My grandson, I have to hide the stuff from him because he'll eat 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 pieces. Is that bad for him? No, because it doesn't have the sugar and the dairy. It just gets a little expensive. But he's getting that calcium and he's getting that vitamin D. And I don't know how many research papers I've read over the last 6 months that have talked about so many Americans being deficient in vitamin D.
Now, how much vitamin D is in each piece of that triple truffle? I believe it's 1,000 international unit.
I know there's, I think, 600 milligrams of calcium to boot. And so it's a great 1-2 combination, but really helps people with that vitamin D deficiency, especially if you're in the northern half of the United States because there's just less sunlight, more overcast. They are massively vitamin deficient. And because we're Americans, we have a tendency to be workaholics if we get the opportunity, and we're inside so much more. And so getting extra vitamin D in almost all the cases for Americans is a good thing.
And that's one of the reasons with such a great tasting vitamin D calcium supplement. Throws in a little bit of reishi for the immune system, and there's even a little bit of magnesium in there. But having such an incredible product like that, I could go through a box a day on that. And so that's just extra reason to work hard, and why we see a lot of people, as their incomes increase, they actually end up taking more and more Youngevity products.
And think about this. How many people can actually say when their grandson or their child shows up at their house, they come up to you and say, "Can I have a dietary supplement?" Well, my grandson does because he wants the Triple Treat Truffle.
Well, there's another product that actually works as an advanced step to the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, and that is the Fucoid Z as well as the Z Radical, that I think addresses this from a little bit different angle. Talk to us about fucoidin and what's in these products.
Well, we talk about the liquid or the moisture within a joint that pads our joint. It's cartilage. If there's ways that we can increase the amount of fluid in that joint, it's just like making the sponge wetter, and it works more efficiently.
Now, you're not talking water on the knee.
We're talking about
hyaluronic acid.
Right, the pad that's in your knee and the fluid that's in it that keeps it soft and pliable. So what we found is that fucoitin, which is the active ingredient in Fucoitin Z, helps produce that within your body. When people take advantage of this product, they find that their cartilage in their knees feel a lot better. And it's actually not your cartilage, it's actually the nerves around your knee. And though the HA that's in the Fucoitin Z helps with those benefits.
Now, I've read some research, and Dr. Wallach's talked about this, that fucoitin has actually been linked to an increase in stem cell growth. In other words, helping your body rebuild tissue that is broken down.
So many of our products support active functions that your body will do if it's in great shape. People can go to pubmed.org and read the research papers about fucoitin and what it does for that. You'll also see that it's beneficial and helps people in supporting their body and fighting cancers. And all those research papers are out there. We're not talking about one study. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of studies to support that, because one study really doesn't prove it. 2 gets exciting, but hundreds, it's hard to argue.
Now, when we look at the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, this is another place to talk about that OsteoFX Plus. And one of the things that we want to mention is how to take it. Now, most people like the taste, but there are some people that they have to come up with a different way to take it, kind of a formula, let's say, or a recipe that they're going to enjoy. Because we find if people like the taste, they're more likely to stay consistent on it. I know that we've mixed it often with just plain yogurt, and it mixes really well with there. A lot of people mix it with their BTT. Some people will take like a tablespoon and put it in a 8-ounce or 16-ounce bottle of water, kind of like a sweet water. But we also have some other liquid calcium products that for some people they might substitute. What are those, and what might be some of the times that people will want to substitute those?
The OsteoFX has the glucosamine in there, and we have a great product called Super Life Cal Toddy that doesn't have it. To replace the glucosamine sulfate, we put more magnesium in it. So it's more of that 2-to-1 ratio that you often hear people talk about. And it's very, very palatable, and it's a great formula. Now, it's not as fast absorbing because there's an event that will take place. If you do that, you'll be going to the bathroom. So we intentionally designed that so it's a little slower absorbing. So you can get away taking that one in the mid-afternoon or in the morning, and it'll actually carry over into the night. It's more of a slow absorbing type calcium that will be beneficial if you wanted to use it to replace the OsteoFX. Of every 20 customers I have, 19 will like OsteoFX, but there's that 1% or that 1 out of 20, which is 5%, that just absolutely love the Super Life Cal Toddy.
Yeah, and I know when you talk about that event, we're talking about constipation, or in the reverse of constipation. If somebody is really critically constipated, the medical profession says eat more fiber, and that's a great way to really damage the villi if you're taking too much fiber that you're not breaking down. But really, when you look at bowel movements and somebody's really constipated, they go to the hospital, they never give them fiber.
No,
they give them magnesium, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's that magnesium balance. So if somebody's using, let's say, OsteoFX Plus, and they're not getting the bowel movements they want, we can call it constipation, or we can say just not as much as you want. You want to increase your bowel movements. That could be a time that either they go half and half with the Cal Toddy or move to the Cal Toddy, so they get more magnesium. And there's also another calcium capsule product that has lots of magnesium in it called BioCalcium that's also under the Super Life line.
Under the Super Life line, and a great alternative for people. Some people just don't like drinking their vitamins. And so when they look at that, that's when I'll start recommending the BioCal or the bone building as an alternative. It's just a great package. We always mix our calcium with vitamin D because research shows that it absorbs better. And so by doing those 1-2 combinations, by always pairing those up, we know that you're getting a bang for your buck, so to speak, because there again, we're results oriented.
Yeah, and that's a good place to mention in the BioCalcium, because they haven't added that extra vitamin D. If you're using that product, you want to make sure you're taking extra vitamin D either in extra BTT or the daily, or triple truffle, again, is one of my favorite vitamin D supplements on the market.
This audio recording is meant for informational purposes only. No intention is made to treat or diagnose any disease or condition. Always consult with a physician regarding your own personal health. This recording is the property of TNT Promotions. Any unauthorized duplication or broadcast is strictly prohibited.